Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be continuing what if Naruto had the powers of Eren from Attack on Titan. Um yeah, let's just get into that video. Naruto going back to the Hokage's office and explaining the severity of the situation, like this isn't a good thing because if somebody has my blood and was able to turn people into Titans, who knows what they're capable of doing now, they could possibly just have an entire legion of Titans just waiting off into the distance, waiting to strike. So Hiruzen, seeing the severity, he tries to call a Hokage summit, only for the response of two of the villages and not the third one, which would obviously be the stone. So a few months pass, and in that time, the Titan situation has gotten much worse. Not to the point where it shuts off all trade routes and junk between the villages, but it's gotten to that point where they have to send soldiers to help guard these transports or help protect these cities or little towns. So when they get to the summit, everybody, the Cloud is just interested mainly in Naruto, but as to how who did it. So they're skeptical, blaming the Leaf Village at first, but when Naruto starts to go into further detail as to what he thinks they are, the Raikage immediately notices that Naruto isn't saying specific characteristics. He barely knows what he's talking about, but he seems to have just a little bit more understanding of what these things are than anyone else. So the Raikage, instead of just trying to take the stone side, because if you were watching the series, you would have known that the stone and the Cloud were quite friendly. They start asking Naruto what would be the best ways to kill them, how could they do it without really affecting, without losing as many troops. And Naruto tells them all you have to do honestly is probably strike them in the back of the neck or try to decapitate them. But if you have a strong enough person and you can't do either of those, you could probably just explode them or something. And the Raikage tells him that kind of the Raikage thinking about it, he's that kind of makes sense because they can reach everywhere else on their body just like a human can, but they can barely reach the back of their neck. So he starts thinking about it, and he just out of nowhere he just makes this random thought. He's so technically speaking, we could kill you too. And the Raikage, as he's saying this, he realizes everybody in the room stops, because they were talking to the Sand Village at the time about a trade route that had some Titans walking around. And they stopped and looked at him, and Naruto was yeah, you could. And before Hiruzen could tell Naruto to do to stop or to Naruto, he starts sparking up, and Itachi tells him hey, yo, this is not the time or the place. You transform and you're gonna attract the Titans that we passed on the way here. And the Raikage was wait, y'all passed Titans? How did y'all? And Naruto tells him the Titans aren't necessarily some of them are stupid, other ones are decently smart. But before Naruto could finish his sentence, a black a man in a mask appeared, and he told Naruto and everyone at the summit that they were the people that were able to take Naruto's DNA and remake his ability, although in a lesser version. So they tell him that they're gonna keep releasing Titans until they end up getting all the tailed beasts. And Naruto and B are standing right there. So the Raikage gets up and he's well, these two are here. What do you plan on doing about that? And the man in the mask, he starts laughing, and then an Anbu member runs into the room and tells him hey, yo, there's a whole bunch of Titans that just appeared off into the horizon. And the man with the mask disappears, and he's have fun. And the Raikage tells him, he's so if that's the person who did this, then he must be like he has to be brought to justice. So we gotta kill him. And Naruto tells him like that's not our biggest concern right now. And the Raikage was like, why is it not? And Naruto like tells him like, did you not hear what he just said? He just said like 12 or 15 titans just appeared off into the horizon. We don't even know what types they are yet. Like, we have yet to get out there. So like as they're like starting to head out into like the area to see the titans, they see some like sprinting, like full blown just sprinting at them, and other ones are like are walking, but then they're like in the back. There's this kind of slightly taller one that catches Naruto's attention, because he's not walking like a titan, and he's not like sprinting like the other two. Like I'm gonna say like 2 or 3 that's sprinting. So Naruto transforms into his Warhammer Titan, and Itachi tells him like, so are you gonna get the runners? And Naruto tells him, he's like, I'll get 2, but the other one's on y'all. And Itachi tells him like, well, I mean, I'm just here to have some fun. So Naruto, he takes off, and the Raikage watches this kid that's supposed to not even be able to do stuff like this take out titans like that his people barely could defeat on their own. Well, I'm not going to say that, but you know, they had a tough time. Their people had a tough time dealing with titans on their own, and to see Naruto not effortlessly taking them out, but how a shinobi would actually perform if they had these abilities. So as like Naruto starts moving closer and closer to the one that, you know, is piquing his attention, it kind of like stands up. And what I mean to tell you, it like, it wasn't abnormal. That's all I'm finna say. So when it stands up, it's like 50 feet taller than what Naruto's Warhammer Titan is. And Naruto kind of stops and he's looking at it. And the Raikage was like, what the absolute fuck is that? And Naruto tells him like, I don't know. And Itachi turns and he looks, and Naruto's out of the crystal, and Naruto was like, listen, I haven't faced this big before. So yeah, I just gotta bear with me. And Itachi like grabs his shoulder and he's like, bro, we've dealt with things this big before. And Naruto was like, how? And he's like, we followed you around. And Naruto like stops and he's like, oh yeah, fair point, I guess. So what are we doing? And Jiraiya tells him, hopefully he does. Like, Jiraiya starts talking about how if he exudes like the heat steam that Naruto was able to do when he was in that massive form. And like the Raikage was thinking about it, and he's like, wait, is he talking about when Naruto was walking toward the, so like the Raikage jumps into the mix, and he's like, wait, so while he was also in this giant form, he was also able to produce enough heat to melt clothing or burn people? And Naruto was like, yeah, but those are different times, and I can't use those forms that often. I can barely use the Warhammer Titan as it is. That is fairly tiring. And like the Raikage tells him, so like if you can barely use it, why do you use it all the time? And Naruto tells him making the Warhammer Titan isn't the tiring thing. It's making the crystal to surround him that's the tiring thing. And the Raikage, not really understanding it, he kind of blows it off, and he's like, so what do we have to do, as this Titan is like inching its way closer and closer? And Naruto tells him like the only thing that we can do, and Jiraiya takes like this thing off of Naruto's back, and one of Naruto's eyes turns somewhat silver, and Jiraiya tells the Raikage to get back, and before the Raikage could, like this weird like yellowish bolt of lightning strikes Naruto, and it pushes the Raikage back. And when the Raikage looks back up, like when he's able to look up, he sees like this massive fleshy like just foot, and then like looking up further, he sees the Titan. And Naruto, like, clearly this isn't him really. So as Naruto transforms, he starts walking over toward the Titan, and the Raikage was like, this thing is not, no. So he looks at Jiraiya, and Jiraiya tells him, like, what are you waiting for? This is our time to go. Like, we have to go now. Like, we have to help Naruto defeat these Titans. Because while Naruto is in the Colossal Titan form, although he's harder to kill, he's not unkillable. The smaller Titans could trip him, and then, you know? So the Raikage, he activates his lightning cloak, and he jumps on, like, Naruto. Like, they start climbing up to Naruto's shoulder. And like the entire time the Raikage is climbing, he's like looking up, and he's like, bro, it don't look like I'm getting any closer to his neck. And when they get up to Naruto's shoulder, they see like, I'm gonna say like 30 feet away from them, there's there's the rest of the Titans. So there was 15, we killed 3, say it was like, yeah, it was 12 left. So like as they're making their way toward the Titans, like when they get like 50 to some odd feet away, 2 of the Titans, like they try to jump up on Naruto. Like they didn't look like abnormals at first, they looked like standard Titans, but when they got closer to Naruto, they jumped on him and started like nipping at his like kneecaps basically. And Jiraiya was like, yo, that's weird. And Naruto is feeling like, he starts heating up, and Jiraiya tells like everybody that was on Naruto to get off of him. And as they're doing this, Naruto starts blowing off steam. And when the other Titans are defeated, Naruto's, yeah, this is over. So, like, after the other 2 Titans that were biting Naruto's knees are, like, completely, melted, basically, the Raikage is just standing there in horror, and they, like, start sensing that Naruto, like, he's starting to get a little antsy. So, like, Jiraiya starts trying to make his way back up to Naruto's, like, shoulder, but before he could, Naruto starts like not walking forward like he would normally do, but he runs forward and like he punches the other Titan. Like, I'm gonna say he hits 3 of, because he's pretty damn big, so he hits like 3 other Titans trying to punch the one that caught his attention. So as he's trying to punch him, like as he's punching the Titans, they kind of not like, they fall, but not enough to where it would affect them like completely. So as they're on the ground, the shinobi are trying to pin them down, but as they're pinning them down, like 3 more start coming over the horizon, and the other shinobi that were back at the base start like trying to warn them, so they fire off like a few fireballs off into the distance, and they see the fireballs hit the Titans, but they see the Titans still coming. So Naruto like squashes the Titans' heads down on the ground and starts staring off into the distance. And this is where I'm gonna end this part off. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like and enjoy my content, please subscribe. This has been Shinobi. Peace.